Hey guys, it's Victoria with Nutrition by Victoria and welcome to another video. So in today's video, we're going to talk about sugar versus fat and which one's more important. I think you guys already know the answer. I've been high carb, low fat, plant-based vegan for 10 years now. I'm on day 2 of my cycle and I feel fabulous. Day 2 is usually my heaviest flow day, so I'm feeling good, belly's nice and flat, body's just getting tighter, leaner, fitter over time as I continue to crank the high sugar, unlimited carbohydrate, calorie diet day in and day out. Honestly, I have no cravings for other food. My tastes are for sugar or starch. That's about it. In fact, I will add sugar to my fruit if it's not sweet enough. And as soon as those satiety receptors in my mouth get satisfied from getting enough carbohydrate, my appetite shuts off and I have a lot of energy for the rest of the day. And that is our human physiology in a nutshell. All of our cells run on glucose coming from carbohydrates, fruit, sugar, starch. Those are the most important foods for human metabolism, for human nutrition. There's really no debate in terms of what is the most important food for human health. Our cellular metabolism for generating energy is dependent on glucose. We have mechanisms to turn other things into glucose. It prefers glucose though, and when you give it the glucose and you keep the fat and the protein in your diet low, you maximize your genetic potential for health and body leanness. So basically, I've been getting a lot of questions about fats. What about the fats? Don't you need the healthy fats? Your diet's deficient if you don't have enough fat in it. The thing about fat is it's really interesting. A lot of the plant-based doctors, when they did their research, they all found that fat was the dietary culprit that was causing human diseases when it came to heart disease, cancer, diabetes. All of the major human illnesses could all be linked to dietary fat intake. The lowest, healthy percentage of your diet for fat intake came to like 2%, which was found by T. Colin Campbell in his work. So you really don't need to have a lot of fat in your diet at all. And as long as you're eating a calorie sufficient diet of high carb, low fat, plant-based vegan foods, all foods have a little bit of fat in them, you end up meeting or exceeding that 2%, fat need, which is basically made up of your essential fatty acids, your omega-3s and your omega-6s, which again, you need a very, very small amount of, and you can get them from eating particularly raw plant foods like fruits and vegetables. So it kind of like debunks the fat debate. But anyway, so T. Colin Campbell, Dean Ornish, Neil Barnard, Dr. McDougall, also Dr. Gerson. So all of their dietary recommendations are all based on a low-fat diet. And they did clinical research showing that a low-fat plant-based diet reversed heart disease, it reversed type 2 diabetes. The Gerson therapy reverses certain types of cancer. You have to be extremely strict with your dietary fat intake. There's no avocados, there's no coconut, there's no oils, there's no nuts and seeds. And that's why sugar becomes so important, because it allows you to get the calories that you need to function most optimally. And it's also, like, if you think about when you go into the hospital and you're in pretty bad condition, they give you an IV drip. And that contains glucose, water, and salt. And that's what your cells need in order to start working properly and heal your body at a faster rate. So it makes sense to, make the diet really high in carbohydrate and really low in fat and protein, because it gives that same effect, that same healing effect. So I had a question about sugar being a culprit in heart disease. And I think that we have to keep in mind that a lot of studies that were indicating that sugar was a culprit in heart disease were done using foods that were like donuts or you know, it was never where the dietary fat was controlled for a person in the study. So when the dietary fat is being controlled, like when Dr. Dean Ornish did his research, they found that that diet could be used to reverse heart disease. His low-fat protocol that he put people on, it not only stopped heart disease, but it reversed it. And it's not even that strict of a plan. Like, he was using soy products and stuff like that, but they were everything was super low fat. So that's what it comes down to for human health and weight loss, is the fat you eat becomes the fat you wear, and also that which, you know, causes disease in the body over time. Now, plant fats are more forgiving, and I actually think that they play a more important role for children because their stomach's capacity is smaller and they need more calorie-dense foods. So a child's diet can be higher in carbohydrates. Like, my children eat a high carbohydrate diet, but their fat and protein percentage of their diet is higher than it would be for like an adult. Now, of course, there is variation that is, you know, available with this style of eating. Basically, what I like to tell people is you don't want to really go over 20% fat and 20% protein in your diet. And so that would look like a 60-20-20 split. 60% carbohydrates, 20% fat, 20% protein, and that would be on like a bulking diet. That would be you're trying to gain weight. That would be a diet that's great for children, where they're getting more calories in, you know, more calorie density in, because the fat and the protein is higher, plus fat and protein are anabolic hormone or anabolic macronutrients that support growth function in the body. So it's going to support the growth of a child. It's going to support the growth of somebody who's bodybuilding or trying to gain weight because they're, you know, have a super fast metabolism and they're always struggling to, you know, keep weight on. So there's ways to manipulate the high carb, low fat, plant-based vegan diet to suit your goals and your needs. I always focus on the weight loss end of it because everybody's interested in the weight loss end of it. So basically, for weight loss, you want to minimize fat and protein. I say, you know, your carbohydrate intake be 90% and your fat be 5%, your protein be 5%. So that's the style diet that I stick to. And obviously, if I end up getting like too skinny at some point, then, you know, you bump the fat and the protein up a little bit, and that's really all you have to do. But keeping the diet high in carbohydrates is what gives the body the fuel it needs in order to run most optimally and be at its healthiest. You could be taking all the vitamins and green juices and having a really super nutrient dense diet, you know, every single day. I actually did this you know, before I got into a high carb, low fat, plant-based vegan diet, but my calorie intake was so low that it didn't matter if I was taking in all these micronutrients. I was missing out on the most important macronutrient in the human diet, and that's glucose. You can't make glucose from micronutrients. You can make glucose from protein and fat. It's called gluconeogenesis, but it's an extremely taxing process on the body, which is why it's so important that no matter what like high carb, low fat, plant-based macronutrient ratio diet you're following, you want to make sure you still are always consuming 60% or more carbohydrates. So you're always giving your body that glucose that it needs to run all of its cellular functions, repair, things like that. If you're dealing with chronic disease, low protein, low fat, like 5 to 10%. And yeah, that's really all there is to it. Hopefully this answers any questions. Leave any comments or questions down below if you have any. I also offer coaching. I have one-on-one Zoom call coaching that I do, as well as group coaching. If you're interested, I'll leave a link in my description box. You can check that out. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye, guys.